Hello, everybody, and welcome into live to another edition of Texas Tuesdays here. I am your host, Matthew Miller, and welcome in again, everybody. Again, we're here every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live right here on the Texas channel and the Big 12 channel multicasting. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel, guys. Thank you guys very much. Texas goes into the Red River rivalry 5-0. Oklahoma goes into the Red River rivalry 5-0. It is the first time since 2011. And before we jump into this, guys, again, hit that like button, subscribe down below, and we're going to read off a couple sponsors here. If you're going to go and spend money on games, they're expensive. Times are expensive. Go to ticketsmarter.com, type in code BIG for $10 off a purchase of $100 or more. Type in code BIG20 for $20 off a purchase of $300 or more. Saves you money, saves you concessions. If you use that, then you can just use that for concessions while you're there. So that works out. And then subscribe to the SEC channel as well, guys. Thank you guys very much for doing that. It really helps out the channel. Again, we're trying to grow a brand here. We're going to be moving to the SEC, so grow that channel. While we're in the Big 12, grow this channel, the Big 12 channel, and subscribe to the Texas channel if you're a Texas fan. Even if you're not, if you want to talk college football, when I'm done talking Texas and if I get enough comments, I will talk other games. I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about the sport of college football. I'm definitely knowledgeable about the Texas Longhorns, so please do that for me. Thank you guys very much. Now let's jump into it. So we're going to recap the Kansas game, 5 to 7 minutes on that, and then we're going to deep dive into the Oklahoma game because, again, this is always the biggest game of the year, no matter what. No matter what. And it's a big game, obviously, for the state of the Big 12. I think the winner of this game, basically, you can write that name into the bulletin board, whatever it is, or write it into the bulletin, write it into whatever they put it on the flyer for the Big 12 championship game. I think this team is headed to Dallas no matter what. Whoever wins this game, that's what I believe will happen. Loser still obviously has a chance, and I think they probably will end up there, but the winner definitely will be there. What's up, Jackson? Thank you for being here tonight. Hit that like button, subscribe. Obviously, you're already subscribed. So we're gonna jump into it real quick. Texas, recapping this Kansas game. Texas wins this game 40-14. A lot of good to talk about, guys. A lot of good to talk about. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the bad as well. Let's start out with the good. The good. Quinn Ewers, 25 of 35, 325 yards, 9.3 yards per attempt. He did have an interception in this game. In my opinion, guys, I thought this was the most crisp he has looked all year. Even in the Oklahoma or in the Alabama game, he missed throws. In the Baylor game, he missed throws. He did not miss a throw in the Kansas game. Obviously, the interception was bad, but the problem with Quinn is sometimes he can get a little lackadaisical. I think when he gets too comfortable, when he feels like he can make any type of throw, that's when he throws the interception. I think that's what happened there. Again, and another good. Jonathan Brooks, we had 300 yards rushing. I'm just going to say the rushing game in general. Jonathan Brooks, 218 yards. Cedric Baxter, 40 yards. Quinn Ewers added on 30 to 40 yards. This team clicked and has clicked running the ball. That is 3 straight games in a row for Jonathan Brooks rushing the ball of over 105 yards. Wyoming, Baylor, and now Kansas. He's done a phenomenal job, over 200 yards this game. At this point, he has more yards this season and more yards per carry than Bijan Robinson and more yards after contact. And I got hate for this. I did. But guess what? I said Jonathan Brooks will put up better numbers than Bijan Robinson. Do you know why? The offensive line he's running behind is better. The wide receivers he's going to be playing with are better. And the quarterback he's going to be playing with is better than anything Bijan Robinson, especially his first year here. No offense to Sam. And then we were trying to get, obviously, this train moving along. And he got to play with some of these guys, but it wasn't where it is now. And I think Jonathan Brooks is going to put up better numbers in his career than Bijan Robinson. I don't think he's a better player. Let me say that. Bijan Robinson is a better player. You see what he's doing with like an average team with the Falcons in the NFL. That guy's a stud. He's a top 5 running back in the NFL right now. But Jonathan Brooks will put up better numbers because of who he plays with. Jump into the comment section real quick. What's up, Jackson? Not much. Okay. You guys are talking with each other. Hit that like button, subscribe down below, guys. Thank you guys for being here again. And that looked like a West Virginia fan. You guys are doing great this year. I'm proud of you guys. I don't have any hate for West Virginia. I never have. I understand the rivalry, but as a fan of Texas, I don't hate West Virginia. I never have. The only time I ever hated West Virginia when you guys beat us in that crazy game when you guys went for 2. That's the only time. I've liked watching Geno Smith. I liked watching Pat White. I have no issue with West Virginia. So back to the good. A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell has taken a lot of stress off of Xavier Worthy. In this game, 10 receptions, 141 yards. Xavier Worthy still had a good game. 7 receptions, 93 yards for him. He didn't reach 100. But this guy's a stud, man. And I knew that coming in, like he was going to be good when he does play his history with injuries was the concern. but he surpassed my expectations. And even I was listening to Oklahoma guys this week because you got to keep your enemies close, guys. And I was listening to him. Gabe Eichert does a good job covering Oklahoma. Go on Twitter, follow him. I have no issue with the guy, but I ran the comment by because he said AD Mitchell's a better wide receiver than Xavier Worthy, and that's just not true. Like if you look at draft boards where they're going to be drafted, Xavier Worthy's a better player. Xavier Worthy's more explosive. The reason AD Mitchell's able to do what he needs to do is because of Xavier Worthy. But it is nice to have AD Mitchell. Definitely, guys. This guy's probably going to be a third, maybe fourth round draft pick. I think he's a third round draft pick. He definitely takes the stress off of Xavier Worthy. So that is the good, guys. Now let's talk about the bad. I'm not going to put the defense under good. I think they were pretty good. They weren't like spectacular. Honestly, it was their worst game against the rush, but they're not going to go in the bad either. The bad, Burt Auburn, 2 missed field goals again. He is 9 of 14 on the season. That is not good enough. Now, these 2 were long, and I understand that. But to me, guys, anything more than 35 yards, I'm getting nervous about whether he makes. And that's not a good feeling. We haven't had that feeling, honestly, in a long time. We had Dicker. We had Hunter Lawrence. Nick Rose, I guess, was the last guy to me to where I didn't feel comfortable. That guy had a gigantic leg. Like there's videos of him making 80-yard field goals, I'm pretty sure, maybe 75, but it was something absurd. And then you had Justin Tucker. So the kicking game has always been solid for Texas. Honestly, Burt Auburn, I'm getting uneasy. And I'm worried he's going to cost us a game at some point, especially anything over, like I said, over 35 yards really scares me. If he can bump that up just a little bit, guys, and become consistent under 40, I think we're fine. I think that gives you enough cushion as being Steve Sarkisian to know, okay, he's good from under 40. We'll go for it for everything else. I could be cool with that. I could live with that. But he has to be more consistent from under 40 because he's missed, I believe, 1 or 2 from there this year too, and that's just not acceptable to me. If you're a Division I college football kicker at a prominent university like Texas, 40 and under should be automatic. Then everything else should be, if you want to be the numbers on that, it's like 65, 70% on anything above that, I'd be cool with. But he's got to be automatic and better from under 40. We did not muff any punts, though, so that is a good sign. We muffed 2 punts before versus Baylor. It seemed like, to me, the strategy was if it's not directly to you, just let it go, and I 100% agree with that strategy. A week ago on this channel, I said that is what they need to do. Your special teams doesn't have to be a net positive, but it cannot be a net negative. If it's a net negative, that will cost this team games. This team is too good on offense, too good on defense to let the special teams dictate whether the season goes well or not. It is. So just catch the ball or let it go by you, because at the end of the day, I trust this defense and offense. Just don't screw it up. We don't need a special teams touchdown. This offense and defense can score touchdowns by themselves and keep touchdowns from being scored on the defensive side. So don't do that. Jatavian Sanders' injury. When we break into the Oklahoma game in here about 5 minutes, it's going to be a big deal. This guy's the biggest mismatch we have on our team, period. I did not say he was the best player, but I said he was the biggest mismatch, and he is. He is a nightmare for safeties and linebackers to cover. He is way too fast for linebackers and way too big for safeties. He's the prototypical NFL tight end. This guy was on his way to be, if this isn't a serious injury, and I don't think it is. Honestly, I think at worst it's probably a high ankle sprain. I honestly think it's just an ankle sprain just by watching it. And he was still moving on the sideline, so I expect him to play in this game, but being limited does matter as well. But this guy was on his way to becoming probably a back of the end first round draft pick. And that's a big deal for the Texas Longhorns to have that position. And hopefully he can get that going, hopefully he can go in this game, guys, and goes well. Oh, 1 second, guys, real quick. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, that definitely needs to happen, guys. Next up, the D-line needs to get home. The D-line had 0 sacks for the first time all year this year, and it's a big deal to me because you're going it again. I'll give credit to Kansas because Kansas actually played very well up front on both sides of the ball. I was impressed. Going into the season, I thought Kansas, if their defensive line could have been good, which I think it is, then they can win. I have them in the Big 12 championship game for that reason. I said health, and if the D-line's good. They've had the D-line. Their issue now is health. If Jalen Daniels can stay healthy, I fully expect that Oklahoma and Kansas game to be for the other position in the Big 12 championship, because I still believe Texas is going to be there. I really do. But the D-line needs to get home. They had 0 sacks. They did have tackles for loss, was good, but they have to get home. There are a couple holding calls I can get angry at that I saw. Ethan Brooke was grabbed around the neck on the one touch that went deep for Kansas, the one big pass they did hit. That should have been called. I'm not going to comment on that. I don't think it matters. You still just need to get home, guys. Just jumping into the comments real quick. Okay, this is hard to say, but I think Texas will win the Big 12, Timothy Green. I get it. It's hard to say. No one likes this, but thank you for that, Timothy. You guys are having a good season. I was higher than most. I had you guys going 5-7, and you guys are probably going to be honestly 8-4. Like, that's a really good season for Neil Brown. That keeps him um at West Virginia. And I like Neil Brown. I have no issue with Neil Brown. Do you think Oklahoma is over or underrated? That's a good question because who do you ask? If you're asking Longhorns fans, to me, if you're asking the typical Longhorns fans, they say they're overrated, then they're underrated to me. If you're asking, okay, if you're looking at the AP poll, they're ranked what, 12th? I think they're properly rated. I think that's about right for them. When I dove deep into this team, I gained more respect for them. They can beat Texas this week. Not and I will say, and it's mostly because of what this game is. People don't realize the last 10 games Texas and Oklahoma have played have been 9 out of the 10 have been a one-score game. This game is weird no matter what. I saw a Charlie Strong team that won, I believe, 4 or 5 games, beat a decent Oklahoma team. That's what type of game this is. That's why, in my opinion, this is the best rivalry in the country because no matter what the records are, it's close. I live in Ohio. I've seen Michigan and Ohio State play games that are blowouts. That rarely happens in this game. And the only time it happened was last year and then 2011 when both these teams were undefeated. Oklahoma won 55-17. Those are the last 2 blowouts, guys. Every other game has been close, and I think this game's going to be close. And we might as well just jump into it. We'll jump into it right now. I'll throw this up on the screen so keep it running wrong. Red River preview. So Oklahoma comes into this game 5-0, 2-0 in conference, beating pretty bad teams. Iowa State's not good. They're probably going to be the worst team of the Big 12, if not for Oklahoma State. And then Cincinnati's probably going to finish in the bottom 4 or 5 of the Big 12. 47.4 points a game for the Sooners, 10.8 points a game given up. They played well on both sides of the ball. Dillon Gabriel is completing 75% of his passes. He has 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. That is impressive no matter how you break that down. He hasn't played great competition. Fine. But 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with a 75% completion rate is still good. Even if it's versus air guys, that's very impressive. This is their weakness, in my opinion. Running backs, Marcus Major, Devontae Barnes, and Tyree Walker, and you have Gavin Sawchuk. They haven't played great, guys. If you add those guys in with Dillon Gabriel's rushing yards, and he's rushed for 4 touchdowns and 95 yards on the year, they're only averaging 4 yards a carry. So this is not the typical Lincoln Riley offense of where this guy's going to average 5.5 yards a carry. Doesn't matter who's back there type of thing. That just hasn't worked for this team, and that is the weakness. They're going to have to rush. Honestly, they could probably rush for that average when we get in deeper into this preview. I think they'd be fine in this game. The wide receivers, I will say I was wrong about. I was right about this running back room. People were telling me I was wrong. I had them ranked like 9th or 10th when we did previews of the best running back rooms in the Big 12. I think I had them like at best 8th and at lowest 10th. I'd have to go back and look, but somewhere in between there. And wide receivers, I was wrong. I should have been a little bit higher on there. They do have talent. They don't have that high-end talent of a CeeDee Lamb, a Marquise Brown. Who else am I missing? Marvin Mims, who's absolutely killing it for my Denver Broncos, even though we suck. So they don't have those guys, but they have a lot of good guys. They have C-plus guys, a lot of them at this wide receiver position. Andrew Anthony has 387 yards catching. Jaleel Farouk has 285 yards. Nick Anderson, who's been the big play threat, has 5 touchdowns and 279 yards receiving. And then Drake Stoops, the crafty little third down wide receiver red zone threat, has 4 touchdowns and 203 yards receiving. So it's a good group, not a great group. This is a great group, guys. The linebacker position. Stutzman, Karanik, and Lewis are their 3 leading tacklers, all at the linebacker position. This Brett Venables defense relies on a very good linebacker, and they have plenty of them. I didn't even mention Deshaun McCullough there. I think he's a good player, and I think he's going to be a great player later down the road. I think he's still getting used to that system. I think next year, as you see the year Deshaun McCullough take off, just like you see Stutzman. Stutzman struggled last year, guys, but he's learned the system, and he's flying around. He's a good player. He's going to play in the NFL. He has 49 tackles. That is insane. That is 12 tackles a game, or almost 12, or about 10 tackles a game. Sorry. 9 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. This guy's a very good player, very good blitzing linebacker. To me, Texas has to get this group going east and west and not north and south because they are very good downhill players. That is actually the characteristic of our linebackers as well. I think our linebackers are better going or actually, I think it's the opposite for our linebackers. I think our linebackers are better going east and west, and I think theirs are better going north and south, honestly. So Peyton Bowen, Gentry Williams, Billy Bowman all have 2 interceptions. They're decent on the back end. I don't think they're great. That's another representation that fits the Longhorns as well. I don't think we're great on the back end, but I like their linebackers. I think their front four is okay. It's definitely not as good as ours, but their linebackers are probably as good as ours, honestly. They're very good. Okay, so we'll jump into this. Keys to victory for the Oklahoma Sooners. I hate saying that, but I have to point it out. So make Texas beat you by a death by 1,000 cuts. Texas struggles in the red zone, guys. We're 19 of 21, 11 of 21 for touchdowns. That's not good enough. If you can keep us in front of you, make us go 10 to 12 play drives, and then stall in the red zone and only put up 3 points, that's a gigantic win for the Oklahoma Sooners on defense. A gigantic win. Can they do that? That's hard. That's easier said than done because Jonathan Brooks is starting to click. Like I said, 3 games over 105 yards. We have Xavier Worthy, 80 Mitchell, and if Jatavian Sanders plays, I would take our 2 wide receivers and our tight end over almost anyone in the country other than maybe Washington and Ohio State. I think we're 3rd in the country. I think you could argue 1st with those 2 guys in the tight end and Jonathan Brooks, honestly. So those 4 guys. But that's how you have to do it, Oklahoma. Keep it in front of you. Make us beat you death by 1,000 cuts. Make Quinn Ewers go 30 of 40 instead of 15 of 20. Because if he's going 15 to 20, that means we're either probably rushing the ball really well for big chunks of yardage or hitting the downfield passes. If Quinn Ewers has a lot of completions in this game, I think it's because Oklahoma did a great job of keeping it in front of them and making us stall in the red zone as well. That is a key. Next up, have to get consistent pressure. They only have 9 sacks on the years, guys. They're not great at finishing when they do get back there. They do have a lot of tackles for loss, but they're not great at getting to the quarterback consistently and then getting him down. Also, it's kind of weird. A lot of those sacks to me are questionable because if you look at their top 20 tacklers, that's 5.5 of those sacks come from those guys. The rest come from backups that honestly probably won't see much of this game because they won't be blowing us out and because they're not going to go through. They're going to play their best players the most in this game. They're just not going to reach deep into their bag to get guys that aren't that good to play. So that's kind of weird to me. I think that's a weak point there. They have to be able to get pressure. And I think the key is getting pressure without blitzing. If you blitz Quinn Ewers, I think you're going to end up in trouble, especially with the way this offensive line is playing, especially the interior. We knew the tackles were good, but Devon Campbell, Jake Majors, and Hayden Connor over the last 3 weeks have played fantastic. We were actually able to run inside zone, which we have not been able to run here in a long time with Texas. So I think it's key that Oklahoma gets pressure with 4, max 5 guys. If they cannot do that consistently, they will not win this game. And then they have to hit three plays. I have it written down. 3 plays of 30 plus yards or more passing, not just rushing, passing. Do you know why? Because I don't think it's the opposite. I don't think this Oklahoma team can go 10 to 15 play drives and score versus Texas. I don't think they can do that. I think they would stall too much. I don't think they can do that consistently, but that is what this offense is built for, honestly, because they don't have a home run hitter other than Nick Anderson. So if I'm Texas, keep it in front. Don't let him beat you from behind. And they're not graded at it anyways. Dylan Gabriel does not have a strong arm, guys. If you watch the game last week versus Iowa State, I think it's Brennan Thompson, the Texas transfer, beats a guy, and this thing is underthrown by 5 yards, and the guy tackles Brennan Thompson. If he turns around, he could have literally caught that like a punt as an interception. So you have to make this team consistently beat you down or beat you play to play because I don't think they can. I don't think they're as talented as you. That being Texas, I don't think OU is counted as Texas, so they can't beat you every play. And don't let them get bailed out by beating you deep. And then have at least an average run game. Like I said, between all their running backs and Dylan Gabriel, they only average 4 yards a carry. Honestly, I think that'd be a win because Texas, the most they allowed was 5 yards a carry versus Kansas. And Kansas has Jason Bean is way more explosive than any running back that Oklahoma has. And they have probably 2 of the top 5 or 6 running backs in the Big 12. I don't think Oklahoma has that. I think Oklahoma has a lot of similarities in this game like we do versus Alabama. You don't have to run for 5 yards a carry, but you have to be consistent, guys. And I said 3.5 yards carry. If they can run for 3.5 yards per carry and then also stick with the run, let's say they run it 30 times, that'd be 105 yards. That is good enough. That is good enough to beat Texas because you're keeping them honest and you're able to hit play action off of that to try to take those deep shots. So I think those are the keys for Oklahoma. So now that we've talked about those, I'll jump into the comments and then go to Texas. If Texas can beat Bama and Tuscaloosa, they can most certainly win the Big 12. 100% Jackson. Alabama would be by far the best team or probably the second best team in the Big 12, maybe third. Like I said, guys, if you're asking me as a Texas fan, I would rather lose this game than the Big 12 championship, because I think if you lose the Big 12 championship, you're probably not making the playoff. I think if you lose this game, win out and win the Big 12 championship, you'll make the playoff because you have a championship resume. You have a championship on your resume, and you have beaten Oklahoma, which will probably be a top 10 team at the end of the year, and Alabama, which will be a top 10 team. So 2 top 10 wins plus a Big 12 championship get you in the college football playoff. 2 top 10 wins and no Big 12 championship, that puts it to me down to a coin flip between one of the Big 10 teams that probably only has 1 loss and possibly a Pac-12 team with 2 losses, because the Pac-12 is very good this year. I think they're the best conference. Now, let's jump to the Texas keys to victory, guys. Texas keys to victory. They need Jordan Whittington to step up. He has 12 catches for 142 yards and 11.8 yards per catch. 0 touchdowns this year for him. And he hasn't been as reliable on third downs. The biggest third down game he had was the Alabama game, so he needs to be better there. And I'm saying this too because I don't know if Ja'Tavion Sanders is going to play. I think he will, but how effective will he be if he does play is a big thing. And I think Jordan Whittington is the one guy that's going to have to step up in that role. I know people are going to say Gunnar Helm. No offense, Gunnar Helm is nowhere near as explosive as Ja'Tavion Sanders, and he's just not as close to a final product as Ja'Tavion Sanders. So he's still got work to do. If we fast forward this to the future next year, guys, I think Gunnar Helm would probably be a pretty damn good tight end, but he's just not right now. So I think Jordan Whittington is the guy that needs to step up in Ja'Tavion Sanders' absence, and I think he can do that, guys. He's done that in this game before. He's played well in this game. He's played well at Texas when he's healthy, and he's been fully healthy this year. So I think he's got to go for about 5 to 6 catches for about 50 to 60 yards and a touchdown, guys. Also, I think they're going to try to limit A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy as much as they possibly can. So there's another reason that Jordan Whittington has to have a good game, in my opinion, guys. And then make Oklahoma one-dimensional. If you can make Oklahoma go for what they were doing before the Kansas game, which was 1.9 yards per carry versus opponents, if they do that, they will win this game, and they'll probably win it by double figures, because I don't think Dillon Gabriel can throw more than 30 passes in this game. If Dillon Gabriel throws more than 30 passes in this game, Oklahoma's going to be in trouble, because Dillon Gabriel does not have a strong arm. He can get hurt because he's a little guy. He's honestly reminds me a lot of a poor man's Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's accurate, but I don't think he scares you deep, and I think he's injury prone. So, guys, make Oklahoma one-dimensional. Make them rely on Dillon Gabriel, because he has not seen in a front seven like this. And honestly, I don't think our secondary is great, but he definitely hasn't played a secondary like this either. I like our cornerbacks. I don't like our safeties. And then Texas, avoid the big mistakes, big touchdown throws. Bama hit one, Kansas hit one, Wyoming went on a long touchdown run. Did you notice? I said avoid the big mistakes, and they only allowed one. Texas can allow one big play that results in a touchdown. If they allow more than that, I think Oklahoma's going to win the game. So you got to avoid that. They get one, guys. They get one. After that, you need to clean it up and come together, just like you did in the Kansas game, just like you did in the Wyoming game, just like you did in the Alabama game. 2 muff punts. If you do that, we lose the game. If you muff 1 punt, honestly, we lose the game. And then be consistent with your field goal kicking. Anything under 40 yards, you have to make. Because first off, if you, especially too, I will say this, do not try anything that doesn't result in halftime or the end of the game that's over 50 yards. Do not send Bert Auburn out there for a 50-yard field goal in the middle of the second quarter with 7 minutes left. That'll put them in a great field position, and if they get 20 yards, then they can kick a field goal. So do not do that if I'm Steve Sarkisian. You can not do that. Bert Auburn, you have to be more consistent. You have to hit some field goals in this game. You have to. If he misses more than 2 field goals again, we're going to lose this game. Next up, Jonathan Brooks has to get 100 yards, period. Has to get 100 yards. He had 200 last game, had over 150 in the Baylor game, had 107 or 8 in the Wyoming game. So you have to get over 100 yards if you're Jonathan Brooks. I would say 130 all-purpose yards for Jonathan Brooks, and I think we're cooking in this game. I think we're winning it. So Jonathan Brooks is a factor as well. So I have broken out keys to victory for Texas. I have broken down keys to victory for Oklahoma. I think it's going to be a good game. I think 6 points, honestly, just because the way this game is, guys. Like, I'll name these stats. Last time both were undefeated, 2011. Texas ranked higher for the first time since 2009, guys. 2009. It's been 15 years. 15 years. Texas is 63, 50, and 5 all time. The last 10 meetings, not counting the Big 12 championship game in 2018, Oklahoma's won 7 of them, but 9 of them have been one-score games. There's been 1 blowout, and it was last year. That's not going to happen again. I do believe Texas wins, but I do believe Oklahoma covers. I'm going to take Texas to beat Oklahoma 31-27. I think Texas, no team has scored over what is it, 24 points this year. I think Oklahoma will do that. They'll get 27, but I just don't think they're capable of breaking 30. I think there's only 5 or 6 offenses in the country that are capable of breaking 30 points versus this Texas defense, and I don't think Oklahoma's one of them. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, guys. And if I am, Oklahoma will win because I think the first one to 30 wins this game. I really believe that. I think that's what it's going to take. I don't think it's as high scoring as people think. I think both these defenses are pretty damn good and pretty damn fast, especially at the linebacker position. I think Texas front four is elite. I think it's one of the 3 best in the country. You can debate between Penn State, Michigan, and Texas. I think that's the debate. Maybe Ohio State, but I don't think so. I haven't seen enough from them, in my opinion. So I think Texas wins this game 31-27. I think it's a good game. I think Texas probably is trailing at certain points in this game. We haven't really seen them trail for much throughout this season. So I'm excited, guys. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think there's a possibility that we both are in Dallas again. I think the winner definitely is. The loser can't lose another game, honestly, because I think Kansas State or Kansas could probably get to the Big 12 championship game with 1 loss. I could see that. So you cannot lose 2 games, in my opinion. Maybe 2, but 2's the max. And for Texas, to me, at this point, from what I've seen, that would be a failure to lose 2 games in this conference. It would be. If you want to lose Oklahoma here and then beat them in the Big 12 championship game, I'm not going to go berserk over that. I'm not going to come on here and cry or yell or anything like that. It'll be frustrating if I thought we should have won and we were the better team and we lose. But if we just lose, they beat us. Props to Oklahoma. But I'm excited, guys. I'm always excited for this game. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. I will be here on this channel and on Mark's channel after this game on Saturday, probably 3:30. So be here, win or lose. Come and make fun of me. Come and pump me up. Whatever you want to do, do it. Hit that like button. Subscribe down below. Go over to the SEC channel. Like that. Subscribe there and go over to ticketsmarter.com. Type in code BIG for $10 off a purchase of at least $100 or more. And then type in code BIG20 for $20 off a purchase of $300 or more. Let's jump into these comments real quick. Timothy Green, Texas offensive line and defensive line are going to be too much in the fourth quarter for Oklahoma to handle. Yes, we do have too much depth, Timothy. I think that plays a big factor. I think because we have stacked great recruiting class on top and finally developed these guys, I think that's huge. I think Oklahoma is still a year behind us. Makes sense because Brent Venables' second year, Steve Sarkisian's third year. And then what's the biggest, this is a good question, Justin. What's the biggest mismatch you think we can exploit this weekend in Dallas? If Jatavian Sanders is healthy, it is Jatavian Sanders versus the linebacker position, period. That guy's a mismatch for every linebacker in the country other than a few. And I don't think, I like Stutzman, but again, he's better north and south. He's not great east and west. And I think you can exploit him going sideline to sideline. And then also, if you do want to go north and south, use Jatavian Sanders to do that. I think Oklahoma, honestly, should try to do the same thing with Stogner and their backside of the backfield. I don't think they're going to be able to run versus us. But if you can exploit a guy on our defense passing, I think it's David Benda at the linebacker position and the 2 safeties. 2 safeties are going to get burned at least once in this game, in my opinion, by Texas with a long pass because they've done it all year. Every game, like I said, I mentioned, a team hits 1 big play versus our safety. So you have to limit that if you're Texas to 1 because 1's fine. Anything more than that, you're probably going to lose the game. And those are the biggest mismatches I see, and especially for Texas, Jatavian Sanders. That's why it was so big when he got hurt last week, guys. I was like, damn, he needs to be healthy. That's all I thought about because I figured we were going to beat Kansas, especially without Jalen Daniels. But Jatavian Sanders being hurt is big, and hopefully Ryan Watts can go too. Cole Hudson and Maurice Blackwell are another 2 guys that Cole Hudson's not that big of a deal because Devon Campbell's been playing well, but it'd be nice to get Maurice Blackwell back to run him out there for 10 to 15 plays. He's got great speed. He's a good pass rusher, so that'd be nice to see him out in this game. Again, guys, this is Texas Tuesdays, number 15. So hit that like button. Subscribe down below. Please, guys, we're trying to grow this band, so please do that. Bring all your friends, your family. Share it out with people. Thank you guys for being here. I am Matthew Miller, and I will be here Saturday again at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So hit that like button. Subscribe down below. Come back for Texas Tuesdays to talk about either the win or loss versus Oklahoma, breaking that game down more. And then we will also be talking about, well, we'll just talk about anything you want, honestly, because it's a bye week. We play Houston after the bye week. And this is a big game for multiple reasons, guys. It's a rivalry. I think if we win this game, the schedule's very easy. We could easily end up undefeated. And if we end up undefeated in the Big 12, we could end up as the best college football playoff team, which is insane to say. I thought this team was a 10-2 team. Big 12 championship ceilings. It has raised them. That's why this game is also so important. So thank you guys for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe down below. See you on next time, guys.